जो आरोप लगाने वाले हैं वो अनपढ़ हैं, उनको पता नहीं है कि क्या चीज़ है, इसलिए इसके बारे में ज़्यादा टिप्पणी करना ठीक है।
हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री हूँ, मेरा नाम नरेंद्र मोदी। हिंदुस्तान एरोनॉटिकल लिमिटेड को परे करो। हिंदुस्तान में हवाई जहाज नहीं बनेगा, फ्रांस में हवाई जहाज बनेगा और अनिल अंबानी को आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे दो।
Good evening, namaskar, adab. I think it's fair to say that we're in the midst of perhaps the most important court proceedings of our times. Supreme Court of India, led by the Chief Justice, Justice Gogoi himself, once again raising some questions, looking at an issue which is bound to increase this degree of unease for the government. The three-judge bench, led by the Chief Justice, wants to be satisfied if all is above board in the ongoing Rafale saga. In proceedings that pretty much went on through the day today, with petitioners including those who used to be staunch Modi supporters at one point of time, like Yashwant Sinha and Arun Shourie, to Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party, all attempts were made today to show that the government has not been transparent. Somehow, the opposition, the petitioners, are hoping to prove before the Supreme Court that there is some angle to the story behind this Rafale deal which has not been revealed so far by Narendra Modi or his ministers. What really happened in the Supreme Court today? Who said what? Four high-profile petitioners. There's ML Sharma, an advocate himself. There is Arun Shourie. There is Prashant Bhushan, Yashwant Sinha, and then there is the Aam Aadmi Party leader Sanjay Singh. This is what's happened in the court today. The Chief Justice, Justice Gogoi, says on that principal point of pricing, should the pricing be revealed in public at a time when the opposition says that Dassault company in France has anyways declared the price at which this deal has been done? We are still debating whether this price at which Rafale aircraft is being bought, can it be released in public domain or not? Attorney General says revealing price will compromise national interest. Chief Justice satisfies him and says that till the time that we don't come to a conclusion, you don't need to bother about the pricing bit. The second question, base aircraft. Again, this has been a huge question. Is there any difference in that RFP which was floated when the UPA was in power? An RFP which was made for 126 aircrafts. And this deal which has been done now by Modi Sarkar, have we really bought the same aircraft, or are we talking chicken and eggs, as was being suggested by the Dassault CEO Eric Trappier yesterday? Attorney General says base aircraft remains the same. The Chief Justice says if the base aircraft is the same, then what is the difference? What is the difference between the two? How has the pricing changed? Point number 3. Why was main contract separate from the offset contract? There is the contract which is meant to buy the plane, and then there is the contract which is now turned out to be the more contentious part of the deal, which is how much money should be given to those who should be supplying spare parts. Attorney General says procurement procedure was amended to allow this. And why was it amended? It was amended in 2015 because Modi Sarkar thought that if you do not bring in more players, if you do not speed up the process of scrutiny of whoever is the private player which has been given this contract, then you are never going to be in a position to implement this deal which has been hanging fire since 2001. Justice Joseph also wants to know, was the offset contract in country's interest? The Attorney General, K.K. Venugopal, has satisfied him, suggesting that the bank guarantee clause protects the government's interests. Basically, what was going on was that Justice Joseph wanted to know, what if this commitment which is being given by the offset suppliers, what if this commitment is not implemented? Then who is to be held responsible? There's a certain sum of money which has been given by the Dassault company to ensure that the commitments which are being made by these offset players, by these offset partners, are all commitments which will be implemented. What about Law Ministry's objections? That's the question being raised by Chief Justice Gogoi. Attorney General says there is no sovereign guarantee from France. Now, please look at this very, very carefully, and we will try and get you more details on that part, because I think the story has moved very, very dramatically with the Attorney General now making it clear in court, in a deal which is supposed to be a G to G deal, a deal which is supposed to be between two governments, now we are being told by the top legal officer that as such there is no sovereign guarantee from France, but what we do have is a letter of comfort. Attorney General says the former Premier Hollande has given us a letter of comfort to cover this deal. Is this letter of comfort therefore to be read as this commitment which the French government was supposed to give as part of a government-to-government deal? I think the jury is certainly out on that one. Just take a look at how the political stakeholders were responding to what was going on in the Supreme Court today.
Yesterday's statement by the Sol CEO has made it two things absolutely clear. That Rahul Gandhi and Congress was resorting to lies, they were concocting stories. And all these concocted stories was only with one intention, to mislead the people of India.
फ्रांस के राष्ट्रपति को बताते हैं मैं हिंदुस्तान का प्रधानमंत्री हूँ, मेरा नाम नरेंद्र मोदी, हिंदुस्तान एरोनॉटिकल लिमिटेड को परे करो, हिंदुस्तान में हवाई जहाज नहीं बनेगा, फ्रांस में हवाई जहाज बनेगा और अनिल अंबानी को आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे दो।
जो आरोप लगाने वाले हैं वो अनपढ़ हैं, उनको पता नहीं कि क्या चीज़ है, इसलिए इसके बारे में ज़्यादा टिप्पणी करना ठीक नहीं।
We'll have to wait until Supreme Court comes to a firm conclusion in this important matter relating to people's money.
प्रधानमंत्री जी, करप्शन का मतलब तो आप भी जानते हैं। अगर आपने कसम खा ली है कि सच देश के सामने नहीं खाएगा, तो हमने भी कसम खाई है कि सच देश के सामने आएगा।
केंद्र सरकार जो राफेल का दाम बताने से बच रही है, जो पूरी प्रक्रिया में गड़बड़ियों को बताने से बच रही है और छिपाने की कोशिश कर रही है, माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के सामने इनका सच सामने आएगा।
So let's take a straightforward position in the context of what has gone on all through the day today. It's been an action-packed day. And now where we are is this, that at some stage the Supreme Court will tell us what it makes out of all the arguments which have been made by various stakeholders. Should there be a judicial scrutiny? Should there be an inquiry committee? Should there be an SIT which should be set up or not? I believe, folks, the Supreme Court has clearly, absolutely clearly, make no mistake about this, they have now kept a sword hanging over the government. The questions that were asked today by the three-judge bench, the unease which was shown today in court, the occasional fumbling from the Attorney General, it all goes on to show that the Supreme Court test is not going to be an easy one for the government. Just a note being given to the opposition and the government's desire that by constant talking from the powers that be within the government or the Sol company CEO, if that was going to set them free, well, that's not going to happen. On Friday, the court now has to decide on whether there are merits and allegations which have been levelled against the CBI Director Alok Verma. I believe both these cases, the Dassault case as well as the CBI case, both these cases are going to give government's managers many sleepless nights, many causes of heartache. That's where I stand. Let's raise a big blunt question then and see whether our panelists agree or disagree with me. The Supreme Court has become a virtual war room of sorts. Is the government now feeling the Rafale heat? Is the government on the back foot? Is that the reality? Full political panel joining us to answer the question. Narendra Taneja, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He is very, very vociferous and straightforward when it comes to taking a position on this story. Pawan Khera, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Patrick Payne, Security Watch India defense analyst. He's clear that the government has done no wrong. Major General A.K. Sivach, well-known defense expert, to give us a soldier's perspective. Avi Singh, lawyer, and our very own legal editor, Utkarsh Anand. So we have all sides covered today. Look forward to an exciting and enlightening debate. Let me first get the facts of the story right. So let me begin with my legal editor, Utkarsh Anand. Utkarsh, we just showed how all the stakeholders were questioned by the three-judge bench and what was said by all the stakeholders. What I want to know from you is this: if I say that the government today has reasons to feel uneasy, would that be a right assertion?
Yes, I think that would be a right assertion to make. Now, we must also remember how this entire case began. One PIL was filed and the questions were raised over the maintainability of the PIL itself. It was described as a policy decision, something which was out of the judicial bounds. And it was, in fact, the Attorney General said that this is something which cannot be judicially managed. It's a PIL which is beyond the ambit of the judicial review. Supreme Court should not look into it. But on the very first day, seconds into the hearing, Supreme Court decided to go ahead and examine the decision-making process. process. On the second day, you have the ambit of the entire case widened. Now the Chief Justice does not confine the scope only to the decision making. He also wants the pricing details and the induction of the offset partner and asks the government to share all the possible details with the petitioner. So decision making process, induction of offset partners, they are given to the petitioners, and despite the Attorney General's, the highest law officer's objections that we do not want to share the pricing details even with the top court.
But the court is going into it.
Yeah, the court did go into it.
Because the court now has that in a sealed envelope. And the court now will ultimately apply its mind to figure out whether the formula which has been worked out for the pricing of these aircrafts, is that correct or not? Narendra Taneja, what has really caught my attention today, and I'm sure Pawan Khera would jump in onto this one, is the assertion which has been made by the Attorney General, Mr. K.K. Venugopal. What does he say? Mr. Venugopal, country's topmost legal officer, is saying there is no sovereign guarantee from France. Now, Mr. Taneja, you may know more of English than me, but please tell me a deal which has been sold to this country as a government-to-government deal all this time. Suddenly in the Supreme Court, country's topmost legal officer says all we have is a letter of comfort. We don't have a sovereign guarantee from France. Then how is it a government-to-government deal, sir?
No, we have bought, from the same company, we have bought aircraft earlier. We have been buying aircraft from that company last 55 years. When during Indira Gandhi's time, we bought Mirage from the same company, a private company, dissolved as a private company. Did we seek or did we get sovereign guarantee? I mean, how many countries in the world, please enlighten me, how many countries in the world extend sovereign warranty on products manufactured by private sector companies? And different countries have different laws and practices when it comes to sovereign guarantee.
I see.
In most countries, sovereign guarantee is given only where, for instance, the product is manufactured by a government department. Like if DRDO is doing something, and there the probably government of India can easily give a sovereign guarantee, but not for a company which is not entirely a government company. As I said, in France, the procedure is for that they have to go to French Parliament. It's a different. So a comfort letter given by a sovereign government is as good as sovereign guarantee. But the most important thing is whether the company has given the guarantee or not. And when we bought Mirage, if Congress has that letter of sovereign guarantee from France when they bought Mirage in the early 1980s, kindly produce that and give it to the Supreme Court.
Khera.
Also, please share that letter.
Let's hear Mr. Khera. Let's hear Mr. Khera. Sovereign guarantee versus letter of comfort. Are we talking chicken and eggs, as was suggested by Eric Trappier, or are we talking the same equality here?
Bhupen, then let's not call it an intergovernmental agreement. Let's be very clear. Let's not confuse each other and the viewers by saying that when Mirage was bought, this happened. Talk about the intergovernmental agreement. If it is an IGA, there should be a sovereign guarantee. Now, even one more factually incorrect statement was made today in the court that the last acquisition happened in 1985. They conveniently forgot the Su-30, which is the Sukhois. That came in late 90s, kept coming. Now we have over 245 Su-30 MKIs in our country. So this government has laid a trap for itself and rushed into that trap because they did not deem it proper to respond to basic questions: pricing, procedure, choice of offset partners. Why did you reduce the number from 126 to 36? Four questions.
Pawanji, let's just
and they
restrict
would have
ourselves.
sorted it out.
Pawanji, let's go point by
They
point.
kept hiding behind
Pawanji, let's go point by
ministers.
point. Let's go point by point. Firstly, let's try and settle this point.
Sure.
Intergovernmental deal versus sovereign guarantee. Now you say let's not call it a government-to-government deal. If you say there is no, if you are talking letter of comfort, Pawanji, then for you this is not a government-to-government deal?
In a government-to-government deal, what happens when the company defaults, turns rogue? Now, there has to be a sovereign guarantee. After all, we are spending crores and it's a matter of national security.
But is a letter of comfort not good enough?
22 defense production licenses.
But is a letter of comfort not good enough?
30 seconds.
Yeah,
you give
Taneja ji, I'm coming to you.
22 defense production licenses,
Huh.
Bhupen, on one day to Anil Ambani, who has no experience. So what are we doing to our national security is our question.
Taneja ji,
The price is revealed by Dassault. The price is revealed by Anil Ambani. But the Prime Minister of India will not reveal the price. We are not asking for any technical details. We understand national security better than anyone else does.
Mr. Khera, listen to me.
Please tell me, sir. Please.
Mr. Khera, listen to me.
Tell me.
The Congress government since the time of Indira Ji had entered into G2G to buy oil and natural gas with dozens of countries with no sovereign guarantee. And I can give you a specific example when your government entered into a G2G agreement with government of Qatar to buy LNG, which is worth billions of dollars, much bigger than this deal we are talking about. There was no sovereign guarantee given by India or by the government there. It actually was reopened and even renegotiated very recently. Number one, when we bought INS Vikramaditya from Russia, at that time the agreement for the aircraft, an agreement for the weaponization
so
was
you are being opportunistic,
$1 billion and the aircraft cost was
so Congress party is being opportunistic today?
And there was no sovereign guarantee.
So no sovereign guarantee.
If you allow me, Bhupen, if Mr. Khera wants, I can give 100 more examples.
Pawanji.
Of the deals they did without sovereign guarantee.
May I counter?
Yes, please, Pawanji.
Bhupen, may I counter?
Yes, please.
He is giving us the example of oil company in Qatar. Give me one oil company in Qatar which is not partially or wholly owned by the government of Qatar. Let's not mislead. For God's sake, this is a matter of national security. You cannot give me an example by concealing a major fact that these oil companies of Qatar are held by the Qatar government. Why are you misleading?
Taneja ji, who's misleading?
Taneja ji, one second.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Taneja ji.
Mr. Pawan Khera, listen now carefully. Listen carefully and admit that you are wrong, please. If you are a gentleman, you will agree.
Tell me.
The agreement, this G2G agreement with the company of Qatar is not entirely owned by the government of Qatar. Is produced there. The operator is an American company called ExxonMobil. The company is called RasGas, and government of Qatar has a big stake there, but is not entirely government company.
No, all I want to know is this. All I want to know.
Still, it's a G2G.
Yeah, exactly. I said
G2G.
Partially.
I
said partially or
20
wholly.
more examples of the deals.
I said either partially owned by the government of Qatar or wholly. So where was I wrong? You tried to mislead by saying there was no sovereign guarantee.
Let's try and settle this.
You are wrong.
Let's try and settle this.
I think
you are wrong.
What is the understanding?
What do you mean I was wrong?
What is one moment, Abhijit? What is the international understanding?
Mr. Khera, I give you 20 more examples.
One moment. Let's hear Abhi Singh. Abhijit, what is the international definition?
May I address it, or shall we have
definition of a sovereign guarantee versus a letter of comfort?
No, let me be very clear.
Yes.
Let me be very clear. You see, either you have an international agreement which is subject to international law, which has less judicial review in domestic courts, or you have a contractual agreement with a multinational company to purchase something. What has become clear here is that you have a private contract between the government of India and Dassault and another French company to purchase products. This is subject to Indian law, and if there is corruption, subject to French law. This is not a France-India international treaty which is subject to International Court of Justice. So this distinction we must make today, that this is subject to Indian law and must follow Indian procedure, because it is a purchase of a defense equipment from a multinational company in which the French government has given what could be a greeting card, but some comfort saying we'll help you along. But even the government is not claiming it's more than that. So and the key to that, the proof of the pudding is that the justiciability, what happens if things go wrong, is the French are not saying go and hold us accountable. They're saying hold Dassault accountable, but we'll make you protect Dassault by taking into international arbitration, which is private arbitration. So this is a private contract in which the Indian DPP must hold good, and Indian courts have the power to review it.
General Seva, does it work for you? If there is a letter of comfort, Congress party has made a huge song and dance about this. Kapil Sibal has gone on record to say that this is nothing else but a straightforward admission by the government that they did not reveal this in public domain earlier, that this was not qualified to be a government-to-government deal, that this should have just been a deal which has been worked out between two parties with a letter of comfort. Does the argument being made there by Avi Singh and Anil Taneja work for you?
Possibly it works. What happened is that this is not the first time you are at Delhi. What happened is that government to government deal was done because you were dire need of this Rafale and 126 which were to be bought, possibly you were not seeing the light of the day and 36 was to be taken at the earliest and therefore government to government. Now the point which is coming is that sovereign guarantee was not given a letter of content. The letter of interest, letter of comfort possibly is meeting by and large the same requirement because after all this Rafale Dassault is our old company, the Dassault, and we have been dealing with it, we have taken Mirage and all. So we have to understand that in case the earlier contract also were only on basically that comfort, not on sovereign guarantee, then we should not split the hair too much. My point is that as on today, since it is seemingly looks to be a government to government, there was no middleman and the procedure were followed in a manner that we are getting this weapon system which is dire need for the Air Force within about 2 years. So therefore, the possibility of this deal getting in such a time period looks to be more viable and the point is that once we are getting, though we may not be getting a guarantee but certainly the way things have gone, the France government, I am very sure,
is willing to stand by.
He will stand
so
by.
It's like, Patrick, but if I get this, Patrick, what is being suggested is this, that this is a letter of comfort which has been given by a former French premier. Now, it may have been given in his individual capacity, or it may have been given in his capacity as a French premier. So while it may not technically qualify to be this letter of sovereign guarantee, but it should be read as a letter which is sovereign guarantee. Is that
we are missing a key point,
which is
when we buy any kind of strategic weapon, even from United States through a competitive bidding, no American company can sell a strategic weapon without the consent and the permission of the American government.
In fact, Kapil Sibal says that the only country that has got a G2G, government to government deal with France is the United States of America.
That is where every deal of India goes to the foreign military sales program of United States. Here what has happened, I will not get into the details, but in between India has become a signatory to missile technology control regime. So you get access to missile systems which have 500-600 kilometer of range, which is strategic of nature, a cruise missile, okay, which can be fired from an air force. Any company in France, which is even if it's a private company, they cannot sell it to any Tom, Dick and Harry country without the permission of the French government. That's where the French government comes in, because you are selling a product which is strategic of nature, and the French government will not allow Dassault, even if it's a private company, to sell to any country which is not in the interest of the French government.
The second question, other than this, is what is being raised by both by the opposition and the court wants to satisfy itself, is about at what stage was Hindustan Aeronautics Limited removed. Rahul Gandhi has made a huge political accusation that HAL was removed because the government of the day only and only wanted to honor Anil Ambani. It wanted to get into a deal with Anil Ambani. Was Hindustan Aeronautics Limited the right choice? We've got a whole list of track record of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Utkarsh, is the court, when this question was raised, and Prashant Bhushan, Arun Shourie, both of them said, you must look, my lordships, at how Anil Ambani's name was dragged in, how that name was slipped in. Is the court really going to answer this question as well? Why was HAL ignored and why was Anil Ambani looked into?
No, Bhupendra, I don't think that is going to be what the court is looking at. That is not going to be questioned by the court. And there were repeated arguments made by Mr. Prashant Bhushan and also Mr. Shourie regarding the stage that when you talk about a delivery, by removing HAL and getting into the new agreement, the delivery has only been delayed. That was one of the arguments which were made. Then there was a press conference which included the IAF officials and also the HAL chairperson. It was also cited to say that until February there was a statement that 90% of the contract is almost ready.
So is the Supreme Court going to look into this question or not?
No, I don't think so, because Justice K.M. Joseph, the other judge on the bench, he raised this query and the answer came from none other than the Chief Justice himself. He helped AG by saying that you look at your own note. We are not going to get into this because if the termination of the contract with the HAL, if that is found to be appropriate, there is no question of looking at why Dassault was inducted.
Avi, would that be your viewpoint as well? That the court is not now going to get into whether HAL, at what stage was HAL removed and at what stage did Anil Ambani make an entry, as the Congress party would like us to believe?
See, again, we have to go back to ask what is the court doing here. The PIL is asking for a preliminary inquiry by the CBI. Now, the CBI has not even answered whether that preliminary inquiry has happened because, as you pointed out in the introduction, it's in disarray. And what's going to happen on Friday will let us know what the position there is and whether that was even connected to Rafale. The issue here is very simple. The Supreme Court doesn't have the wherewithal to figure out whether the contract was given correctly or not, or whether there was corruption. Somebody needs to look into that. Currently, the institutional crisis is, who do we give it to? There is no Lokpal. CBI is in crisis. CVC has a Supreme Court retired judge looking into certain aspects. Nobody is trusting the CAG. So we need to have an agency we can look into it. Because the question here isn't, the answer here isn't to say, we are honorable men, I am an honorable man, what I say goes. The question is transparency and accountability. And any democratic government must be able to answer those questions to an agency or ultimately to a court with full disclosure. Now, why should anybody not say, we will withstand any inquiry and come out clean on the other end? Who is scared of an inquiry? Nobody should be. And the question here only is this, that the government should not only have a clean contract but appear to have a clean contract.
Yeah, we can say you should be like Caesar's wife, you should be above suspicion.
Very good sources.
Yeah, but
must be answered.
But I appreciate the point that you're making, that if one wants an investigation, Tanyaji, one moment. If one wants an investigation, one needs to have a body. Which is an investigative body in which we all can repose our faith today? I think is a valid question.
So the government can't have unsworn affidavits. Unsworn affidavits. The Vice Air Marshal coming and giving statements without being sworn in. This is not an investigation.
But just look at this, Tanyaji. Look at where we have reached.
Nobody should. And
Tanyaji, Air Marshals coming in. Vice Chiefs coming in. Defense Ministry officials coming in. I mean, at one point, the Chief Justice said that this is a different war room. You go back to your own war rooms. I mean, don't you think that you're really pushing your luck now? You're really pushing this case where you're dragging in new stakeholders each day, sir.
Bhupen, please get your facts right.
How? Tell me, sir.
Government didn't produce the, Vice Air Chief Marshal. Supreme Court asked for these people. Supreme Court asked for experts.
Yes.
And they only advised the Supreme Court. They were not there on behalf of the government.
No, I agree, but they're making the point for the government, sir.
Clarifications.
But they're only defending the point of the government, sir.
Listen. No, not for the government. Bhupen, listen, not for the government. Please be careful. Not for the government. Supreme Court judges had some few questions and clarification. They didn't have to go for anything because they had some questions. They wanted to understand a few things which were largely technical nature.
Fair enough.
That's why they were summoned and they had to go because they were summoned by the Supreme Court.
That point
but
is
just Bhupen, allow me to make important point. Bhupen, allow me to make important point.
Go ahead.
Hindustan Aeronaut HAL is a great company. And BJP and the government is very proud of HAL, of every single employee of HAL. But here you are buying aircraft because the UPA delayed. 3 years they negotiated, and after that, Mr. Antony, the then defense minister, sat on the file, did nothing. In the meantime, China and Pakistan, they had acquired 400, 4th to 5th generation aircraft. Air Force wanted flyaway condition aircraft. And if the just a minute,
first of all,
if these planes are coming in flyaway condition, there is a question
of a very bogus argument.
These are coming in
flyaway condition. UPA sat on it for 10 years.
I want
to have the timeline very clear.
Flyaway condition from France.
In 2004-05,
yes,
the Indian Air Force gave us the specifications, gave the Ministry of Defense some specifications. After which, the Indian Air Force took 5.5 years to test 6 different aircrafts on 643 different parameters. It definitely takes 5 years. On 12th December 2012, Dassault was finalized, Rafale was chosen. After that, BJP, which was the then opposition, raised questions on the life cycle cost. Mr. Antony did not sit on the file. He sent these questions to the Cabinet Committee on Security while the negotiations were still on. Now, HAL
Factually wrong.
Just 10 days
Bhupendra,
before the Prime
factually
Minister
wrong.
visits Paris,
Factually wrong.
HAL holds a press conference and says 95% of the negotiations are over. Now we are expecting the 5% to get over. There were some issues on warranties which got resolved according to
Bhupendra,
Trappier
give me
himself.
time.
I am not saying it, Mr. Trappier is saying this.
But HAL says,
But Anil Ambani
but HAL ends up taking
and
more
says
time.
that the Prime Minister called me and asked me to get into the defense
But
sector.
HAL ends up
Bhupendra,
taking
just
more
give me
time,
30
sir.
Minister of a
These are
democratic
factually-
country
these are wrong
chooses
facts.
that a
Wrong
particular
facts.
corporate should enter a defense sector. Is it a Russian oligarchy that
wrong
we are
facts.
talking about?
Wrong facts. How? Tanyaji,
Anil
how?
Ambani
These are wrong
gets
facts.
22 defense production licenses in
Sir,
Mumbai.
Give me 30.
Yeah, the-
Mr.
Tanyaji,
Khera,
Tanyaji,
listen to
Land
me.
allotted in 10
Mr.
days.
Khera, listen to me.
Tanyaji,
Everything
Mr. Pawan Khera,
after
listen to
the
me,
deal
please.
is finalized,
Allow me to
not
speak,
before.
Mr. Khera.
Okay.
He forms
Rebuttal
a
from
company
Tanyaji.
12
Pawan
days
Khera, allow me
before
to
the
Rebuttal
visit to
from
Paris.
Tanyaji. Rebuttal from Tanyaji.
Everything
Pawan
is
Khera,
shady
listen to
about
me.
this.
Yeah, Tanyaji is speaking.
No. I mean, Mr. Khera, listen to me. You see, the fact is, everything was concluded. Air Force had given its kind of view on that. Everything was concluded, and then it was filed, went back to the Defense Minister, Mr. Antony. He sat on it. Question is why? The question is
Incorrect.
Is not Mr.
Incorrect.
Antony himself was a member of the
rubbish,
Cabinet Committee on
absolutely
Security.
bogus. It's an absolute
No. So
black,
he was the
white
one
lie.
who should have. Mr. Khera,
आप
listen, have
झूठ
passion.
बोल
Don't
रहे
get
हैं।
rattled. You are
आप
misleading
झूठ
the
बोल रहे
nation.
हैं।
You are misleading the viewers. Please.
आप ये नहीं समझ पा रहे
You
कि
can
पूरा
say that,
देश आपको
but
झूठ
let
बोलते
me,
हुए सुन रहा
okay,
है।
let me speak.
पूरा
I
देश
know
सुन रहा है
the
कि
entire
भारतीय
story,
जनता
Mr.
पार्टी
Pawan
के
Khera.
वरिष्ठ
चलिए one by one. Let's
No,
speak one by one.
नेशनल
You are rattled, so you
नेटवर्क
get
पर
into
झूठ बोल
Hindi.
रहे हैं।
Let's speak one
When
by
you
one.
get into
You are
crack
lying
into
on
Hindi,
national
you are
network,
rattled.
Mr. Taneja.
It shows.
You are lying.
No,
Yeah,
now you
Pawanji,
can say
one
whatever,
time
but
you lied on
I'm
this
not
issue.
going to
Pawanji,
use.
one
I'm not going to use such language.
Private.
Mr. Khera, I'm
It
not
was
going to use
partially
this
owned by the
language.
government.
Tanyaji,
You are
I'm not going to
lying
use such
again and
language, Mr.
again
Khera.
because you have
Tanyaji, what's your
something to
point?
hide.
Mr. Khera,
Tanyaji, what's your point? What's your point,
आपको
Tanyaji?
कुछ
Bhupendra,
छिपाना है,
allow me to
छिपाइए,
make
लेकिन
my
झूठ
point.
मत बोलिए।
अच्छा हाँ बोलिए हाँ Tanyaji
आज तो कोर्ट में आपके चार झूठ
allow me to.
आप बोलिए
You
Mr.
tweaked the
Bhupendra,
defense procurement
Bhupendra,
procedure.
allow me to speak.
You
Tell me,
tweaked
tell
the
me.
Can you
DPP
ask? Can you
August
either mute him
2015
Yeah,
or ask him
no.
to give others?
yeah.
अनिल
Let's
अंबानी
speak
की
one by
मदद
one.
करने के लिए
No, he will
आपने
continue.
नियम
पवन जी,
You
let's
know,
speak
Mr.
one by
Khera,
one.
में आप
आप
what he
पवन जी,
does.
पवन जी, I'll give you
ये
time.
आरोप हम पहले से लगा रहे हैं।
पवन जी मैं आपके पास आता हूँ पवन जी एक मिनट तनेजा जी की सुन लेते हैं मैं आपके पास आता हूँ जी तनेजा जी बताइए टेल मी सर
Yeah. You see, Bhupendra, the
Taneja
fact
ji की
is, and
सुनना
you
है
can
तो मेरी
check,
भी सुनिए
ask
आप,
the
जो
defense
एक ही बार एक
correspondent,
झूठ
he will
बोलते
check
चले
it
जा
MOD. And MOD, you see, he is rattled. Now he is
He's
speaking
lying
Hindi, calling me a
since
liar.
yesterday.
You can see that.
He's
you
He's so
speak to me
rattled.
now sir you
You
speak
see,
to
the
me
point
you make
here
your
is-
sir you make your point
And he
No,
gets
no,
away
you
by
have to
lying. I'm
mute him.
sorry, I
That's
won't
not
do
the
you
way
make
that.
sir you
debate.
make your
Their
point
lies
Let
got
him
caught
continue.
today in the Supreme Court of India.
okay one
No,
more
I don't like this
Pawan
speaking
now
manner.
Pawan
Let me,
to accommodate
he can say what.
Anil Ambani.
Please mute him.
They were not admitting it today. They had
You
to
know,
admit
he's
it.
so rattled, he
what
will
is being-
continue.
what is being admitted
आज
look at
अदालत
him,
में
look at
आपको वो
him,
मानना
look at him.
पड़ा
What
जो
is-
हम आरोप आप
look
पर
at
लगा
him.
रहे थे इतने दिनों से और
You
आप
see,
मान नहीं रहे
what
थे।
is
No,
being
no, he's-
admitted what is being admitted Taneja ji tell me
Bhupendra, can I
Yes,
speak?
absolutely. The country is also looking
No.
at you.
You see, the
अच्छा,
fact
आपका
is,
एक-एक
fact
झूठ ये
is
देश
that
देख रहा है।
Mr. Antony,
एक-एक
after
झूठ
the
ये
Air
देश देख
Force
रहा
has
है।
recommended
और
that
देश
plane,
हैरान है।
decision has been
मैं इस
taken
देश का
after a due
चौकीदार
process
बनूंगा
of
कहकर
long
जो
3
चीज
years.
कराए वो क्या
Mr.
कर रहे हैं?
Antony developed cold feet. He decided just to sit on the file.
Okay.
Sit on the file because there were some people. There were some
126 को
people.
घटाकर
इससे
36
The
का
party
एंट्री दे
wanted
दिया
to
था।
take care of.
अच्छा,
And
एक
Mr.
second,
Antony
इतनी
didn't-
जरूरत थी।
probably
There is
had
a
some
third
other
question.
issues.
26 को
That
घटाया
was the
था।
reason.
और
And
उसी
the
का
country
there is a
paid the
third
price.
question.
तो
The
सिर्फ
country
36
paid the
खरीद
price,
रहे थे। जवाब
and Air
दीजिए।
Force was not
There is a
allowed
third
to go
question.
ahead
There is
with
a third
these
question.
aircraft. So
Utkarsh,
the
the third
country's
question is
security
this.
was compromised by
playing
then
with
Congress.
if you have
security
come
of the
down
country
from
and the country will never
136
forget.
aircraft
They
अच्छा now gentlemen
compromised
please
with the
now I'll
country's
have to mute
security
I'll have to mute
because
both of you I'll have to mute
certain
both of you
armed
I'll have to mute both of you now please
will not be taken care of.
Utkarsh is the
That's the
Supreme
character
Court
of the Congress
also
party.
going to
That's
get
the
into this
These are the
question
criminals
how
of
have
this
you
country
reduced
who have
from
cheated this
136
country,
aircraft
who have played with
from
the
126
national
aircraft to
security.
36
You
aircraft.
compromise
Is
the
that going to
interests
be
of the Indian Air
continued?
Force.
Gentlemen, please, now I'm appealing.
Our
You
blood
don't
boils
have to
when we see you lying like
We'll have to
this.
reduce the audio. We'll have to reduce the audio both. Utkarsh.
No, Bhupen, that is not a question which is being looked at by the Supreme Court at why the numbers have come down. Although the petitioners would want the court to look into it, but there was no such arguments made. The Attorney General was not asked any such question, nor was even the Indian Air Force officials. They were asked about the numbers of aircrafts. They were certainly asked about the kind of aircraft that they need. They were also asked about the recent aircraft, the Rafale, the contentious aircraft, and the Air Force officials, they said it before the court that it is a 5th generation aircraft. It is going to help the fleet. That's what the Air Force officials said. So as far as the suitability of the aircraft is concerned, that's not being questioned. Numbers are also not being questioned.
But the other point which was made in the judiciary today is very straightforward. The judges want to know whether there is any difference between the aircraft which was a part of the RFP which was created when the UPA was in power and the aircraft which we are getting now.
Yeah.
Now again on that point there is a contradiction. The Congress believes it's the same aircraft, the BJP states these are two different aircrafts. Eric Trappier has spoken in multiple ways, in multiple languages, in multiple words. French media has also given us different picture. What's the correct picture according to you?
Bhupen, I think the basic bare-bone aircraft is same with certain customization which may have been made. But where the difference lies is the kind of avionics which is coming with it, with the kind of weapon systems which are coming with it, and the kind of, something called the 5 years, which they say performance-based logistics that the guarantee that Dassault is taking. The biggest problem with the Sukhoi fleet is that it is at any point of time only 55% is available. The rest are not available. Dassault gives a guarantee that any point of time for the next 5 years, it is Dassault's responsibility to maintain 75% of the fleet operationally available for any kind of emergency.
But my last question to you, General Sivach, is this, that when we started off in 2001, and bear in mind that this contract, this tender has been hanging fire since 2001, we were talking about 126 aircraft. Now we were told when Manohar Parrikar was the defense minister that the overall budget for this was 90,000 crores. Yeah. This deal is worth say 59,000 crores, let's say ballpark figure 60,000 crores. Yeah. I want to know if 60,000 crores has been spent in buying 36 aircrafts. Was that initial RFP which was created, was that RFP inflated? If the Air Force today says that actually we are good to go with these two squadrons, we are fine with 36 aircrafts, why did we ask for 126 aircrafts?
See, the initial contract of 126 was only saying 18 will come in flyaway condition and 108 will be assembled here by the HAL. Now, once this government to government, that contract had not come through and it was not seeing the light of the day, and this this aircraft was required immediately. That is how the government to government, and they have gone for 30 in a flyaway condition. My point is, as far as the weapon system, avionics and all are concerned, it seemingly looks to be they are of a far superior quality than the earlier they were trying to take it.
So it is not the bare body aircraft is the same.
Therefore, the price seemingly looks to be corresponding to whatever avionics and the weapon system which has been put.
Now what I want to know, are we saying I want to know how will this Supreme Court 3-judge bench actually come to a conclusion if the bare body of the aircraft is the same and there are new technologies which have been added up? How is the Supreme Court then going to come to a conclusion what technology will cost what? I mean, then Attorney General is right. Does this court have the competence to actually conclude that technology X equals Y euros, technology Y equals Z euros? Is that how it will work out?
See, again, courts don't get in. He's completely right. Courts don't get into expertise, but courts get into violation of procedure. Here we have a acquisition which was not asked for by the DAC. That is the government's own procedure, the DPP. And the question I would leave you with, because I know you're running short of grass, is that if HAL was not controlled by the government, it could file a case saying that we have a cause of action. This entire thing has sidelined us and we must be given relief and the contract cancelled which has got written off.
Fair enough.
So the question here is that you have a procedure, you violate it in every instance, and you get post-hoc approval of everything that has already been decided.
But I want to know the money. Where is the money coming from? That's the question, because that question has never been answered. Intent is being displayed, yes, but where is the money? Very quickly, Utkarsh. Do we know exactly when will the Supreme Court now pass an order or what's going on today?
It's expected by the end of this month.
Expected by the end of this month.
One more point.
It's not going to hang fire.
No.
It's not like the Ram Mandir business.
No. The indication from the chief bench was that it is going to come anytime very soon.
But it may not be a final order. Sorry to interrupt you.
It may not be a final order.
But it may not be a final order.
Okay. Yeah. Final point.
Yeah. So as Mr. Ravi Singh was pointing out,
it may not be a final order.
There have been no notices issued so far.
Not even notice has been issued yet.
That's what I wanted to make.
So what does that mean?
So this is procedurally, if the courts think that the case is arguable, it has to be admitted, notices have to be issued, and then the government has to file affidavits. But then another point, Bhupen, there have been instances where without issuance of notices, cases were heard and were dismissed. Recently, Judge Loya's case, no notices issued, case dismissed.
Case was dismissed. All right, let's see what the Supreme Court does. Is the Supreme Court going to give us a decision, or, as Utkarsh Anand points out, are we in for a long haul here on this one? Issue notices, wait for people, all stakeholders to file affidavits, and then you do a scrutiny of those affidavits. Either ways, the Rafale controversy is not over, by a long stretch, and I think as we move towards 2019, it will only gain more momentum irrespective of what happens in the Supreme Court. Let's move on with our spotlight on assembly elections. Okay, let's take you right through the election battleground, the electoral battleground. 4 states which are going to polls. Let's take you through what is happening in which state. The key developments. Firstly, spotlight Madhya Pradesh. Kamal Nath, the PCC chief and the man who fancies his chances as being a possible chief ministerial candidate, he is now finding himself in the midst of a massive Hindu-Muslim storm. Kamal Nath has been caught in a video. There is a video which has now gone online, it's gone viral, where Kamal Nath is speaking to representatives of the Muslim community and saying, don't worry, ye jo Hindu hai, inko hum log aage dekh lenge. The BJP has been very quick on its feet to pick up that video, and it's accusing Kamal Nath of being a fraud, of someone who was just indulging in mere electoral gimmickry. Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Rahul Gandhi are literally at each other's throat. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is accusing Rahul Gandhi of not even knowing how onions grow. He says, कभी उनको लगता है आलू जमीन के ऊपर उगता है, कभी उनको लगता है आलू जमीन के नीचे उगता है. In Rajasthan, what's happening in Rajasthan? In Rajasthan, while the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is the party in power, and so many opinion polls seem to be suggesting that Vasundhara Raje may be finding it difficult to retain that state, Bharatiya Janata Party has gone ahead and it's announced its second list of candidates as well. But the real story is unfolding in the Congress. Sachin Pilot, who to many is the best person to be the chief ministerial candidate, and Ashok Gehlot, who to many is the best person to be helping Rahul Gandhi at the center, the Congress can just not get its act right. The Congress even today has not managed. It has not managed to release its list. Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot did appear together today, and the occasion was welcoming BJP MP Harish Meena, who incidentally is a former congressman himself. Now, Ashok Gehlot has gone on record today to say Sachin Pilot and he, both of them will contest. Question which needs to be raised is this, that is Ashok Gehlot himself keen to contest these elections, or is he stating that he will contest this election and therefore restrict himself to Rajasthan, maybe because the Central High Command is asking him to do so. Just take a look at what Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot are saying on this question.
हम सब एक मैदान में एक साथ उतर रहे हैं चुनाव के अंदर. चुनाव सचिन पायलट जी भी लड़ेंगे, मैं भी लड़ूंगा, सब लोग चुनाव लड़ेंगे. इस रूप में पार्टी चलती है. इतिहास में कभी भी आज़ादी के बाद में राजस्थान में कभी भी जितने भी मुख्यमंत्री बने, कभी भी पहले कोई फैसला नहीं हुआ चुनाव के पहले. मैं कह रहा हूँ आज़ादी के बाद में राजस्थान में कभी भी डिक्लेयर किसी को नहीं किया गया, तो हमारी परंपरा को बनाए रखेंगे, हमें वो अच्छी लगती है.
ना उसका बाइट चला रही हो ना वीडियो.
निर्णय पार्टी का है कि हमको चुनाव लड़ना है, और पार्टी का मैं एक निष्ठावान कार्यकर्ता हूं. पार्टी की जो आदेश होगा उसका हम पालन करेंगे. चुनाव कहां से लड़ना है इसका निर्णय पार्टी पे छोड़ रखा है, और जहां भी पार्टी उपयुक्त समझेगी मैं वहां उम्मीदवार बनकर वहां चुनाव लड़ूंगा. जहां तक पॉसिबल है हम लोगों ने यूनानिमिटी बनाकर अपना लिस्टें तैयार की हैं और बहुत जल्द उसको रिलीज़ करेंगे.
So, spotlight Rajasthan, what's going on? The BJP comes up with its second list. The Congress cannot release its first list as well. Is Rahul Gandhi's reluctance to choose between Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot, is that going to cost him dearly in Rajasthan? Pawan Khera, proud citizen of Rajasthan, there live with us, and so is our dear friend Rajan Mahan, former journalist, now professor of journalism at Rajasthan University. Warm welcome to both of you. Pawanji, why is this problem? Why can't we be told clearly this person is going to be leading the campaign in Rajasthan, this person will lead the campaign at the center? It's a straight question, sir.
But where is the problem? Why do you call this a problem? Did you see Mr. Narendra Modi and Amit Shah declare the Chief Minister in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand, anywhere? So, just when it comes to the Congress in Rajasthan, you say this is a problem.
No, I'll tell you why it's a problem, sir.
We have
because you're the challenger.
Very healthy tradition. I'll finish. I'll finish.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. No,
okay.
I'm just saying, Pawanji, you are the challenger to Vasundhara Raje. Now, imagine for the people of Rajasthan, you can't even release your list. And I'm getting to hear you can't release your list because Mr. Gehlot is insisting. that his voice must prevail, his view must prevail, and that is leading to, there were rumors which were being circulated about some fake list of the Congress party, and AICC has been forced to put out a release and no list has been released. Does this not threaten to derail your campaign, sir?
No, Bhupen, I am glad you said these are rumors. I don't know where are you hearing them from, but let's put this to rest. These are rumors. Mr. Gehlot is one of the most seasoned leaders of our party. He will never insist on X name or Y name or Z name, nor will Mr. Sachin Pilot ever do that. You know how our party functions. We take everybody's opinion, and this time around, I'll be very honest with you, there are several claimants, many more than we've seen in the past. You saw Harish Meenaji, who's joined the Congress. You saw Manvendra the other day joined the Congress. You saw Habibur Rahman today, who joined the Congress. There's several people, and we need to take everybody's opinion into account.
Okay.
And then we'll it's not as if the last date is gone and we have been unable. You can't say we cannot bring out the list.
Rajan?
We are taking everybody's opinion and we'll bring out the
I'm
list.
sure you'll bring out the list, but I'm just
in 1998, Bhupen, we brought the list. In 1998, Bhupen, Rajanji would tell you, 1998 we brought out the list just one day before the last date of nomination.
No, does it matter?
We won the election very
Is it
well.
a factor on the ground, Rajan?
It cannot be linked.
Is it a factor on the ground, Rajan?
We have a healthy tradition.
Healthy tradition?
We have a very healthy tradition.
Is it healthy tradition or is it lack of decision making, Rajan?
I'm finishing the line.
Bhupen,
healthy tradition of the
it's
CLP
probably they're making a virtue out of a compulsion.
Rajan. Let's hear Rajan. Yes, Rajan.
I think the Congress party is kind of making a virtue out of their compulsion. There are many factors. One, of course, is the fact that there has been a continuous sort of buzz about the frictions between the Gehlot faction and the Sachin Pilot supporters camp. So one is that has continued all through this year especially. The second thing is that who is the chief ministerial choice from the center? There has been some confusion about that also. There are some signals last month, for instance, when Rahul Gandhi came in for a rally in Rajasthan, he actually went ahead and announced in the rally that indeed, our earlier governments had made some mistakes. They were not very well connected and rooted with the people of the state. And those mistakes will not be repeated by our future government.
So what does that mean?
It clearly seems to suggest that perhaps the Gehlot government, because after all...
Yeah, so what does that mean? Does it mean that Rahul Gandhi was asking for...
led the Congress...
so that Ashok Gehlot should not be the person there in Rajasthan? Because let's also be clear, Ashok Gehlot may work well for Rahul Gandhi, let's say in other states, let's say as a backroom strategizer. But as far as Rajasthan is concerned, are you saying that Rahul Gandhi's heart is with Sachin Pilot?
Well, it does, to many observers in Rajasthan, it seems a bit like that. It clearly seems that in the last year or so, the Congress party would actually have been happier to see Ashok Gehlot take on a more active role at the center and leave the state to Sachin. But I think there's also a calculated strategy in keeping this confusion about leadership in Rajasthan going. Because remember, Ashok Gehlot represents an earlier generation, a generation that is very well connected. Mr. Gehlot has strong links, grassroots links with all the party cadres across the state. So they don't want to lose that experience and then connect with the with the party cadres and with the public at large. At the same time, in Sachin Pilot, they see a young dynamic face who they feel will be able to enthuse the youth voters in Rajasthan. So one can see the kind of calculation that the Congress party is making in keeping this confusion and the suspense going, because the delay in the ticket distribution right now that you were mentioning earlier actually is linked with something very different, which is that, since February, when the Congress trounced the BJP in the by-elections in Rajasthan, they led on all the 17 constituencies of the state, which went to by-polls. There has been this big buzz that the Congress is on the comeback trail. They're definitely,
and therefore there are more people who want to come in.
Is being seen for many months as the winning ticket in Rajasthan.
So therefore, Pawanji,
the number of claimants of the party.
So therefore, Pawanji, that's the whole issue, Pawanji. Maybe it's a sign of optimism for the Congress party. But don't you think, if you do not resolve this crisis, if you do not resolve this dilemma, people ultimately, Pawanji, in Delhi, you know this. the Congress party did so well under Sheila Dikshit for 3 terms because Sheila Dikshit was there. She was the face. Now, if you have a face, if you are clear that Sachin Pilot is a person, why are you shying away from declaring him is my question, sir.
I love the choice of words. Crisis, problem, dilemma. You never use these words when there was a confusion in Maharashtra whether it will be Gopinath Mundeji, whether
but
it
sir,
will be
because
Devendra
I'll ask you
Fadnavis,
because you're the
whether it
Congress
will be Nitin
spokesperson.
Gadkari, who will be the chief minister?
Because you're
who
the
will
Congress
be the face?
spokesperson, sir.
I'm coming there. I'm coming there. I'm just asking you, were these questions asked to the BJP spokesperson by any media person, not just you? I'm not blaming you.
No, fair.
About Maharashtra, about Haryana, about Jharkhand, about Uttar Pradesh, even about Uttar Pradesh. In Rajasthan, 5 years Vasundhara ji has been the chief minister, yet for the BJP in the centre, it was Om Mathur as the chief minister. They just kept dismissing her, they kept ignoring her, they kept overriding her. They kept trying to sabotage her. We don't play that kind of politics in our party.
Okay.
In our party, we have a very healthy, very
you are maintaining that it's a healthy
practice. Inputs and then choosing a leader.
Let me then thank both of you there, and let me hope that the Congress party will be able to come up with this list sooner than later, because truth is, if it does not come up with that list quickly, then it is not going to be a good sign for the Congress party. Like Rajasthan, where the Congress fancies its chances, who knows, indecision may end up costing Rahul Gandhi dearly. So where does this leave our big sweepstakes? In the context of what's happened in the Supreme Court, in the context of what's happening in the electoral battlefield in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, Kamal Nath being caught, Congress being indecisive, who still holds the edge? Clearly, as far as the electoral battlefield is concerned, though you can see that the gap, the distance between the two may well be narrowing down, but the aces still very much remain with the Bharatiya Janata Party simply because they seem to be taking this. Just before I toss it across to Anand Narasimhan, let me quickly run you through a wedding celebration, which is going to be the wedding celebration of the year. Bollywood's top couple now, Deepika Padukone and Ranveer Singh, getting married at Italy's Lake Como. Lots of pictures coming in, and there you can see both of them dressed up. It's a wild party which is going to take place for the next 1 week. And I can tell you that the shutterbugs are really going to have a wild delight. So all the way going up to 22nd of November, the ace couple are going to have a lot of time. I wonder whether Anand Narasimhan, if he was to get married, would also think in terms of going to Lake Como.
Well, I've been married more than a decade and a half around Bhupendra Chaubey. The fact is, it was a traditional Konkani wedding.
In Lake Como.
Traditional Konkani wedding in Lake Como. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Thanks a lot.